What's good? What's good? What's good, beautiful people? This is your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Appreciative of you guys being here today. Today is Monday, April 18th, and the Sixers are officially up one in the NBA playoffs, the first round against the Toronto Raptors. And look, I expected the Sixers to come out and win game one, if I'm being completely honest with you. I guess I just didn't expect it to be this smooth of a victory. Now, look, I'm not getting too excited. I'm not allowing game one to define how I view this series. But what I will say is I was severely impressed with the way they won. Joel Embiid didn't have the greatest game, but he established his dominance on both ends of the court. James Harden didn't necessarily have the greatest shooting game from the field, but he shot well from the three, and he was a playmaker. And his court vision, his ability to get guys involved and create for others was at an all-time high with 14 assists. And then the story of the game was Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris, two guys who are considered to be the third and fourth options when it comes to scoring, and they have come out and established their dominance, established themselves in this series already. And that's what's so important about it. The third and fourth options got themselves established. And I think that was the game plan entering this first round matchup against the Toronto Raptors. Let's get our third and fourth options going because we already know our first and second option can already do their thing. We already know what Joel Embiid is going to do. We already know what James Harden is going to do. We know that already. As a matter of fact, James Harden is actually in a slump right now from an efficiency perspective, but nonetheless, we know what he's going to do. Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris are by default considered the third and fourth option by default. No matter how we want to see it, no matter how we want it to be, no matter what we saw yesterday, they're considered to be the third and fourth option. Now, as the series progresses, as matchups change throughout the playoffs, you are going to change how you attack from an offensive perspective. You're going to alter, okay, who we're going to play through, who has the better matchup. It's a game of matchups at the end of the day. It's a game of runs. And whoever has the better matchup, you want to take advantage of that. And it seems as though, based on what we saw on Saturday, the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey has the better matchup in this series. Because let's be honest, Scotty Barnes did a pretty good job of limiting James Harden from getting going from the field. But beyond three, James Harden was did very well. But Tyrese Maxey, in my humble opinion, along with Joel Embiid, they have the greater advantage when it comes to their matchups. There's no one on the court that can match Joel Embiid's intensity, that can match Joel Embiid's skill. When it comes to Tyrese Maxey, Fred VanVleet can't guard him. Gary Trent Jr. can't guard him. So at that point, you're choosing these guys to pick their poison. And that's where the Philadelphia 76ers have the advantage. You have to think about it from their perspective. They have the advantage at that point. And then you got Tobias Harris putting up 25, 26 plus points per game. If Tobias Harris can average 20 or more points per game in this series, that is a W for the Philadelphia 76ers in this series. Because at that point, they have to account for four guys who can give it to them. That's the thing. They had to account for four guys that can give it to them. And if you got to worry about four guys that can give it to you, there's nothing you really can do. And on top of that, the Toronto Raptors are dealing with so many injuries. They're dealing with Scotty Barnes went down, and then they were dealing with foul trouble on top of that in the first game. Best believe the refs are going to pay closer attention to Joel Embiid because I will admit Joel Embiid was more physical than the average official would allow, but you can tell the officials were letting those guys play to establish a precedent. But best believe, especially given the fact that Nick Nurse, the head coach for the Raptors, already called out Joel Embiid and called out the refs for not necessarily protecting their own players, best believe the refs are going to allow those guys to play through the whistle. Well, best believe the refs aren't going to call all those fouls that they called for the 76ers. So it's going to be so it's going to be important for the Philadelphia 76ers to be able to score without relying on the foul. Just get to the cup. Just hoop. Don't worry about the foul. Just hoop. And if they foul you, they foul you. But Lucas Hallman, you're absolutely right. Gary Trent Jr. is doubtful for tonight. Scotty Barnes is out for game 2. So this is going to be a very interesting series. I personally said the series will go to 6 games. I'm still sticking with that right now. If it goes any less than that, then that's a plus. But I want to still tread lightly with this series because Nick Nurse is very good at making adjustments. And Doc Rivers isn't necessarily the best at making adjustments. He hasn't shown that. His track record hasn't shown that he's the best at making adjustments. You think about last year's playoffs. He made no adjustments against the Raptors. He almost made no adjustments against the Washington Wizards. There's no reason why we should have lost to a lesser talented team in the Atlanta Hawks last year. Granted, there were so many moving parts and nuances to that loss, but I digress. This year, the Sixers actually have 4 guys that want to score in their starting lineup. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Sixers had let me make sure I'm not mistaken. They had 3 guys put up 22 or more points. James Harden had 22. Maxey had 38. Tobias Harris had 26. Joel Embiid contributed with 19. He also had 15 boards. James Harden had 14 assists. Then you had Shake Milton give you 10 off the bench. You had Niang give you 8 off the bench. You know what I'm saying? You had Paul Reed and Matisse Thybulle come in and play vital minutes when they needed to, and they didn't. They didn't hurt us. The bench was pretty efficient in their scoring. But the most important aspect of this series that needs to get talked about is how the Sixers responded in transition. Their transition defense and transition offense was better than we've seen it all season. And on top of that, their rebounding was better, was at its best, was better than we've seen it all season. We knew coming into this series, and I'm pretty sure you guys knew it as well, right? We knew coming into this series that the Toronto Raptors are one of the better teams in transition. They need, in order for them to score, they need to get off in transition. Their half-court offense is nowhere near as dominant as their transition offense because they have a lot of guys who are athletic, a lot of guys that have length, a lot of guys who are able to run. So they want to get out of transition. That's what they want to do. But if you limit them to scoring more so in the half court, if you outscore them in transition, and if you play great transition defense, they're not the same team. They're forced to actually think rather than rely on their athleticism to score. You saw their offense getting stagnant. Now, granted, in the third quarter, they began to make it a game. They began to lessen that lead of ours. But Tyrese Maxey just took over, dropping 21 points in the third quarter. They didn't account for that. You can't account for that. You can't account for Tyrese Maxey dropping 21 in the third quarter. You can't account for Tyrese Maxey giving you 38 points. There's no way you could plan for that because he's not the first or second option. Now, they saw what he did. They're going to key in on him, but then you sacrifice. What are you going to do about James Harden? What are you going to do about that James Harden, Joel Embiid pick and roll? Because the whole point of their pick and roll is to leave guys open on the perimeter. Guys like Tobias Harris, guys like Tyrese Maxey, guys like Danny Green. But if you're going to try to control the pick and roll by throwing 3 bodies at 2 bodies, then there's a mismatch. You get what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to defend all these guys on the perimeter. You're using 3 guys to defend 2 guys. Now we got 3 guys versus you 2 guys, and what are you going to do? Who's going to keep up with Tyrese Maxey on the perimeter? Who's going to keep up with Tobias Harris on the perimeter? Danny Green on the perimeter. The Philadelphia 76ers shot the ball very well, better than I thought they would in this first game. But that has to carry over. Like I said, Nick Nurse is going to make adjustments. He will. You have to account for it. And if Doc Rivers doesn't, if he and on top of that, the fact that they have guys that are injured, you can't take your foot off the gas. You cannot take your foot off the gas just because some guys are injured. You can't. You have to keep your foot on their throat. Because if you don't, best believe they will find a way to make this series interesting. You have to take a 2-0 series, knowing that Matisse Thybulle can't travel to Toronto. You have to. He's not fully vaccinated. It is what it is. But he can't play in Toronto, so you're going to be a man short. That means guys like Isaiah Joe is going to have to step up. Paul Reed is going to have to step up. You dig what I'm saying? And don't be surprised if you see a lineup with Tyrese Maxey, Danny Green, James Harden, Paul Reed, Joel Embiid, or don't be surprised if you see a lineup with Tobias Harris. Tyrese Maxey, Paul Reed, James Harden, Joel Embiid, Danny Green, Isaiah Joe. Like, don't be surprised if you start seeing these interesting lineups. Don't be surprised. But just know that it's going to be important for the Sixers to maintain dominance. And game 2 is tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. So make sure y'all tune in for that. But taking game 2 is absolutely vital for the Sixers. Absolutely. Let's do some shout outs. Shout out to my boy Shockey in the building. He was first. Jinx Wolf. Shout out to Bird Gang 31, my guy. Shout out to Lucas Hallman, one of the biggest Sixers fans I know. Jamal Matthews was good, my guy. You know, we got a lot of people on the live stream. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We got 6 people, 7 people here. Smash that like button. It really helps the live stream grow. Really helps people find the content. But taking game 2 is so vital for the Sixers. It's extremely vital because you have an opportunity to put a stranglehold on this series. You have an opportunity to put pressure on Toronto. Now, can the Philadelphia 76ers win 2 straight games in Toronto? I don't know. Because Toronto, they have a real home court advantage. And like I said, Matisse Thybulle won't be available. You're missing one of your best perimeter defenders. And who knows how long Scotty Barnes will be unavailable. He says he's already feeling good, but they're going to rest him for game 2. And then Gary Trent, he says he's dealing with an illness. He's doubtful for tonight. I think he might play still, though. You know what I mean? And I thought it was really interesting how the Sixers did a good job at neutralizing some key role players for the Toronto Raptors. And if they can do it again, that's huge, putting them in foul trouble. Guys like, what's my man's name? Guys like Chris Boucher. He became a non-factor getting in foul trouble early. Fred VanVleet got in foul trouble early. Gary Trent couldn't knock a bucket down. I think Fred VanVleet fouled out early in the 4th quarter or something like that. So, those guys really couldn't get things going for themselves. Shout out to my man Ryan Rowe in the building for popping in on the live stream. Make sure you hit that like button, my guy. I really appreciate all your support. But Toronto couldn't get into a rhythm at all. And again, like I said, if they get into transition, if you allow them to run a transition, if you allow for Pascal Siakam to run the court and get into the paint, because that's where he lives. He lives in the paint. He lives in the mid-range. That's what he wants to do. But if you force him into bad shots, force them into a half-court offense, force them to actually think, they're not the same team. Nick Nurse knows the limitations of his team. Nick Nurse knows. He wants to get his team out in transition because that's what they specialize in. They don't specialize in stretching the floor. I know they got Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr., but I know Chris Boucher was one of their better shooting big guys, but they want to run in transition. They want to get all their guys going that way because they know they can, because they know that they're the more athletic team on the court. We don't want that to happen. The Sixers have to continue to out-hustle the Toronto Raptors, and that's the thing I noticed as well. The Sixers were out-hustling them to every dead ball. They were out-hustling them to every loose ball, to every board. We out-rebounded them on every front, and that was something the Philadelphia 76ers had to key on. And there was a certain flair, a certain energy that they were playing with that wasn't necessarily what we saw all season. Now that begs the question: was this team coasting all year? Was this team actually keeping a foot on the brakes all year? We have to ask ourselves that question because, in all reality, the Sixers have to maintain this pace, and if they don't, the Toronto Raptors very well can get back into this series. But putting Toronto in foul trouble early really, really, really set the tone for the Sixers because they weren't able to play defense the way they wanted to. Toronto is a very long team. They have a lot of length. Guys that have long arms. Guys that their tallest player is like 6'9", 6'10". So they don't really have a big man. They play small. They run fast. They get out of transition. Doc Rivers did a good job coaching up his guys defensively, and we didn't let up off the gas. I noticed in the 4th quarter that they allowed Joel Embiid to continue playing, even though they had a double-digit lead. I like that. Keep your foot on the gas. Let them know we're not playing games with y'all. We not here to hold your hand through this. We're here to kill y'all. We're here to take your heads off. And that's how they have to approach the series time and time again. Again, I love the way the series started because James Harden, because Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey were the leading scorers. Now That forces Toronto to really key in on those guys. You set the tone. That was so important. And we did it in the dominant victory. Toronto has to key in on Tyrese Maxey. They're going to double him at times. And then that's going to leave guys like James Harden open, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. They have no choice but to pick their poison. They have no choice. Joel Embiid didn't have the best game. Only shot 33% from the field. But still was getting to the rim. Still was dominant, living in the paint, getting to the free throw line, getting boards, blocks, things of that nature. He made his presence felt. And when Joel Embiid is able to take a night off like that, this early, that changes the whole dynamic of how they had to guard the Sixers. Think about it. What are they really going to do? Tyrese Maxey cooking Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent. You're going to double Tyrese? Okay. Who open? James Harden is going to be open. You're not going to leave James Harden. Tobias. Okay, Tobias Harris, he did his thing. You dig what I'm saying? So it's like the fact that Tobias Harris set the precedent for how he's going to play this series means that Toronto has to pay attention. They have to, and they have no other option. What you gonna do? Double Tobias Harris if he get hot? You know what I'm saying? What are you gonna do? You gonna double Joel? Okay. Well, somebody gonna be open. Danny Green in the corner knocking threes down. What you gonna do? You have no other option. They're stuck. They're stuck. But the only way it works in our favor is if we continue to put the pressure on them, if we continue to limit their transition points, if we continue to crash the boards and be aggressive. That's how we win this series. That's how Philadelphia gets to the second round. Look, Maxey had 21 points in the third quarter. You can't account for it. You don't see it coming. They got punched in the mouth early. Now, how will the Sixers respond? How will Toronto respond? Like I said, Nick Nurse is the king of adjustments. You know, Nick Nurse, he was the nurse and Doc was the doc yesterday. You know what I'm saying? There's times where Doc looked like the nurse and Nurse looked like the doc, but Doc was the doc. Nurse was like, you know what I'm saying? Glenn was the doc, Nick was the nurse. You know what I'm saying? We're putting guys out, doctor's orders. You feel me? Take 2 of these, doctor's orders. You feel what I'm saying? So it's going to be so important. I want to give a shout out to Wild God with the $4.99 super chat. He says, I abhor the Raptors, man. I wish we could sweep them. Joel and Tobias should have that mentality, bro. If I was Joel and Tobias, that would be my mentality. That's a fact. That's a fact. I can't stand the Toronto Raptors. I actually like them more when they had the Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan combo. I like DeMar DeRozan. And Kyle Lowry, he's from Philly, so I'm always show love to him. I think he went to Villanova or something like that, right? But with God, with the super chat, thank you, my brother. $4.99, that's going right in the bank, going right to the show to make the show that much more dynamic for you guys. Really appreciate you, my man. Thank you for being a part of the show. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the show as well. But yeah, it's important. Yo, Braden, what's up, young buck? Ha Ed Boogie, my little bro. He said prescribe them an A whooping. Okay. Hey, take 2 of these doctor's orders. You dig? Come on, man. Hey, thank you with God. I appreciate you. Thanks, E. Bray, my youngin, what's going on? But like Ryan Rose said, Ryan, you're so right. Toronto has a lot of experience. They have a lot of it. But think about this as well. I know Pascal Siakam is a champion, and he earned that ring. But the real experience walked out the door with Kyle Lowry. Those young guys don't know what hit them. Fred VanVleet probably know what's up. And Fred VanVleet will shoot better this game. He caught a little heat in the third quarter. He caught fired in, but he was in foul trouble. It meant nothing. It was already done by a dub. Gary Trent, if he plays tonight, he'll shoot better. Fred VanVleet, he'll shoot better. You know what I'm saying? Pascal Siakam, he'll shoot better. Don't get it twisted. But just know these Sixers, they have a chance to really put their foot on this team neck. They have a chance. They have an opportunity. Like, watching that game and watching Maxey and Tobias Harris dominate that first half was so beautiful to watch because they're the third and fourth options. Like, come on, let's be honest, you guys. I was watching this whole game, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, They're really playing a complete game. And then on top of that, we only turned the ball over one time all game, and then the two other turnovers came in garbage time where we was just trying to, fill some stuff out. You feel what I'm saying? With God E, he says they don't have a Kawhi Leonard. I'm only worried about Fred VanVleet. If we have no Thibault to slow him down, I feel you. But here's the thing: Tyrese Maxey doesn't get enough credit for his defense. Tyrese Maxey plays very, very, very good defense. He's a fearless defender. He picks guys up at half court, sometimes full court. He has no fear in his heart. So I like that about Tyrese Maxey. He's going to be willing to guard Fred VanVleet. If Fred VanVleet, he's not the most athletic. He pulls up. He has a high arcing shot. You can guard him with Danny Green, whatever you want to do, really. But here's a nuance of the game that doesn't get talked about enough. In that third quarter, when Toronto was starting to close the gap and Fred VanVleet was starting to make his shots, the pressure got put on the Sixers. How will you respond? You went into the second half with a big lead. Are you going to lose this lead? Are you going to crumble? Are you going to fumble the bag? What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? James Harden says, you know what? Okay, boom. I'm hitting y'all with 3 back-to-back buckets. 3 back-to-back buckets. 3 of them. Because it matters. It matters. It matters, you guys. Look, let me explain it to you like this, right? I'm trying to remember exactly when it happened. But there was a moment where they started to close the gap on us. James Harden got to the free throw line. James Harden made a layup. James Harden made a 3-pointer. You know what I'm saying? There were moments where, there was a moment where the game, we were only up by 11. James Harden made a 3-point shot, pushed the score 70-84, put us up by 14 points. And then Toronto turned the ball over. James Harden made a driving layup off a Joel Embiid assist, pushing the lead back to 16 points. Then Tyrese Maxey made a 2-point shot, pushed it to 18 points. Then VanVleet shot a 3-point shot, dropped the lead to 15 points. Pascal Siakam hit a 3-point shot, dropped the lead to 12 points. Tyrese Maxey hit a 3-point shot, pushed the lead back up to 15 points. Tyrese Maxey again. Then James Harden got to the free throw line. See, Maxey and James Harden were keeping the Sixers afloat. He stepped up in time. James Harden stepped up in timely moments. We need him to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end. Don't get it twisted. James, it wasn't like he wasn't trying to score. James honestly was being pretty aggressive. He took 17 shots. He went 6 for 17, 4 for 7 from the 3-point line. He was efficient from the 3. Shot below 50% from the field, though. And he played 40 minutes. Played the most minutes on the court. And he was the ball distributor. So it's going to be so important for this team to capitalize off of this momentum. And Boogie says, I'm going to be honest, the Raptors were scrambling, trying to figure out how to score. We got to take their confidence again. That's a huge point. He says they were scrambling, trying to figure out how to score. You want to know why they were scrambling? And I said it already. Toronto is a team that wants to run in transition. If Toronto can't get off in transition, if they can't get easy buckets in transition, they can't score the way they want to. When you force Toronto into a half-court offense, when you force them to actually have to make basketball decisions, they're not the same squad because they don't have players that have the same basketball IQ like a Joel Embiid, like a James Harden. They don't have guys with those same level of instincts. You get what I'm saying? So that's a good point to notice that they were scrambling. You saw it all game. That they really didn't know how to score because we limited them in transition. You put that kind of pressure on them throughout this series, the series is ours. It's ours. With God says these James Harden bucks were huge. Buckets were huge. Run stoppers. Absolutely. Great point. You need to see the Sixers have a handful of run stoppers. And Tyrese Maxey is beginning to show that he can be a run stopper. A lot of people talk about run starters, guys that can get you going on a run. But not too many people talk about run stoppers, guys who are able to neutralize the opposition from getting back into the game. Tyrese Maxey, time and time again, neutralized the opposition from getting back into the game. James Harden, in that third quarter, had key buckets to neutralize the opposition from getting back into the game. Tobias Harris, same thing, had key buckets to neutralize the opposition. You dig what I'm saying? Niang and Shake Milton had key buckets off the bench to neutralize the opposition. So when you have guys that can stop runs, guys that can put the ball in the hoop, guys that are true hoopers that can get to the bucket, because sometimes when all things fail, you need somebody to just get you a bucket. That's when Tyrese Maxey showed that he could just get you a bucket. Now, like I said, depending on the matchup, depending on the series, the pecking order may change. The pecking order will always be Joel Embiid and everybody else. But as series change, the pecking order might be Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Tobias. The pecking order might be Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tobias, Tyrese. It might be Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Tyrese James. It all depends on matchups, and matchups matter in the playoffs. And Boogie says James stepped up like he was supposed to. Big facts. Cal Bundy also says when he hit the three and got the layup. Facts. Facts. Those were two key buckets to neutralize the run. What's good, Michi? How you feeling, my guy? Welcome to the show. Make sure you hit that like button. We got 18 people on the live stream, and we going up. So I'm talking about. I appreciate y'all for being a part of Chalk It Up Sports Daily, when I'm giving y'all Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Y'all know the energy is always live, man. I'm giving y'all that hot fire. And look, the Sixers are up 1-0 in the playoffs. The NBA playoffs was in full effect yesterday. They was in full effect, and we got to talk about it, man. Look, we got to talk about it because there were so many aspects. There were so many aspects of the series of the playoffs that were just so beautiful to watch. How about that Boston-Brooklyn game? Let's talk about it. Listen, y'all, we're talking about basketball today. Like, how about that Boston-Brooklyn game? I watched that game from beginning to end, and, they was going tit for tat. Tit for tat, man. Oh, my goodness. Like, I couldn't believe it. Jason Tatum with the game winner. I want to give credit to Marcus Smart, man. Marcus Smart played a hell of a game. Jaylen Brown played a hell of a game. Al Horford played a hell of a game. Look, you got to be honest, you guys. I understand that sometimes, Kyrie Irving is unguardable. It's going to be what it's going to be, you guys. Kyrie Irving is unguardable. We just got to accept it for what it is. But when you have guys like Marcus Smart, who was able to get buckets, Jaylen Brown was able to get buckets, Marcus Smart made key three-pointers down the stretch, right? And then what spoke volumes to me about that Brooklyn-Boston game was how Boston didn't panic. Boston didn't panic. And that just shows the maturity of your squad. That shows the experience of your squad. Think about this. In that third quarter, going into that fourth quarter, Brooklyn was giving Boston everything they could handle. Now, granted, KD didn't have an efficient game. He struggled. Kyrie was the offense. Steph Curry and Andre Drummond fell off the face of the earth. I think Seth Curry only had 9 points. Andre Drummond had like 12 or 13. But here's the thing. Andre Drummond became unplayable after a while. Seth Curry, was a liability on defense. You dig what I'm saying? People don't want to talk about it. There are moments where Andre Drummond is unplayable. There are moments where Seth Curry, he might have that game where he's hot, but he is literally a liability on defense. He's streaky at the end of the day. You mean to tell me we got James Harden for a player that wouldn't give us minutes, and Ben Simmons, Andre Drummond, who was unplayable in most series, and then Seth Curry, who's streaky at best, and then can't play defense. Now, look, when Seth Curry was on the Sixers, I loved him. I love his game. Don't get it twisted. I love what Seth Curry brings to the table, but he's streaky. We have to acknowledge that he's streaky and he's a liability on defense. So you mean to tell me we sacrificed someone who wouldn't play, someone who's unplayable at times, and someone who can't play defense and is a streaky shooter? I'll take my chances with James Harden, but I digress. Brooklyn was giving Boston all they could handle, and Boston didn't panic. There was a moment in that fourth quarter, I think in the final 2 or 3 minutes, Boston was down by 5 points. And I'll be honest, I thought Boston was going to lose the game because the way Kyrie Irving was heating up in that final quarter. But they didn't panic. They did not panic. Brooklyn is a tough team. They're going to be a tough out. But Boston, they look very good, man. And Cal Bundy, you're right. Tatum and Brown was having an off night. Al Horford came through and put up crucial points. Which God says last year, Giannis averaged 22, 15, and 8 versus Miami, and Bucks swept them. Joel doesn't have to do a lot scoring this series, only when he needs to, because obviously their plan is to stop Joel. Right, that is their plan. But who exactly with God? Exactly. But if that's your plan, who you else you gonna stop? Who else you gonna stop? Cal Bundy says, "Can we take a timeout and thank Morey for drafting Maxey? Because if it was up to Elton Brand, we would be in trouble." Look, man, we got to give Elton Brand some flowers. Okay, he built a pretty decent roster. Elton Brand brought in JJ Redick, Ersin Ilyasova, Marco Bellinelli. He was able to get Jimmy Butler in the building. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't keep him, but brought him in the building. You know, so let's give him some credit. You know what I'm saying? Some. But you're right. Drafting Maxey was huge. To see that talent from a mile away was amazing. It's amazing. But what's another series that was pretty dope, man? Oh yeah, let me finish talking about Boston, man. That like to stay poised like that. And here's another thing that was so beautiful about that final possession. They double teamed Kyrie at the perfect time to force the ball out of his hands, force him to kick the KD, force KD to take a tough 3-point shot, being double covered. They got the board, didn't call the timeout. You know how vital that is. You know how intriguing that thought process is to not call the timeout. They had a timeout. They say, you know what, we're going to win this game. We're not going to overtime. We're not allowing Brooklyn to get a break. We want to catch them on their heels, force them to make a hasty decision on both sides of the ball, and then we're going to put the ball. We're going to take the best possible shot. And what's so beautiful about that final possession is the fact that not only did their defense get them the ball back, they continued to pass that ball until they got the perfect shot. And to the very last second, the very last moment, Jaylen Brown had the ball. Then Marcus Smart had it. Then Marcus Smart kicked it to Jason Tatum, and shout out to Jason Tatum for having the heads up play, catching KD and Kyrie Irving lacking. They turned their back on him. He backdoored him. Got right to the cup. Kyrie Irving tried to strip him. He spinned on his pivot, put it right in. Put it right in the cup. Got to give credit where credit is due in those beautiful basketball decisions. Got to give credit to the Boston head coach for maintaining his poise. That is vital. He's a rookie head coach, and he helped this team become the best defensive team in the league. And they went up 1-1 Brooklyn in a tough game one matchup in Boston. Man, gotta give credit where credit is due in that regard. Boston's going to be a tough out, but don't sleep on Brooklyn. The series is far from over. Brooklyn will come back, and I got a feeling this series will go 7 games. That's my thought process on that. But Max says, are you firing Doc if you have the option? It all depends on how far they go. If the Sixers get to the Eastern Conference Finals and force a Game 7 or whatever, like, okay, I'm not going to fire him. But if the Sixers lose in the second round or under that, he got to go. 4 years in a row losing in the second round, that can't happen. That can't happen. And Doc Rivers, you got all the talent in the world. There's no reason you should lose in the second round to inferior competition. That's just what I'm saying. Kyle Bundy says the Suns game was cool too. Pelicans was playing with heart, but that Boston versus Nets game was crazy, even though I wanted both teams to lose. No, you're right, man. That Suns Pelican game was competitive, but CP3 turned up in that fourth quarter, and what can you really expect? What can you really expect? But that Milwaukee Chicago game was pretty competitive as well. Chicago was making it tough for them. Milwaukee had a hard time scoring consistently, but overall Milwaukee won out. What else was a good game? That Memphis Timberwolves game was really good. Memphis got punched in the mouth. Denver, the Nuggets got punched in the mouth by Golden State Warriors. That Utah-Dallas series might go 6 or 7 games because who knows when Luka may come back. And Utah needs to win this series. They need to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals somehow. I doubt they'll do it. I don't see them beating Phoenix. I don't see them beating Phoenix in the second round. Honestly, if I had to make a prediction, I say Phoenix goes to the second round. Utah goes to the second round. They're going to face off, and then Phoenix to beat it in the Western Conference Finals. And I honestly think that Golden State is going to beat Denver in this series. And I think I think Memphis is actually going to end up winning the series in 7 games. Overall, I expect Golden State and the Phoenix Suns to be in the Western Conference Finals, and I expect my Sixers and the Milwaukee Bucks to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's just my thought process, you guys. But man, just so much basketball. I'm so excited about this stuff, man. Can't y'all already tell? Benjamin Allen, what's going on, my man? Welcome to the live stream. He says, who you think going to have a good shooting night tonight on the Sixers? Honestly, I think Joel Embiid drops 30, if I'm being honest. I think Joel Embiid drops 30 tonight. You know, he had a slow game, but Tyrese Maxey changed the dynamic of the series now. Tyrese Maxey changed the dynamic of the series. With Tyrese Maxey doing what he did and Tobias Harris doing what he did, dropping 26 points and Maxey with 38. Now Toronto has to key in on those guys. They can't allow. They're going to do their best to try to double. They can't double team everybody. So Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris doing their jobs to the fullest degree opened the floor way up. So now they can't just key in on Joel. And don't get it twisted. Just because James Harden, just because he lost a step, don't get it twisted. Don't think James Harden not going to surprise somebody and just drop 30 or 40 one night. Don't get it twisted. If he get hot, he get hot. He coasting. He's trying to play, create. But Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris doing anything opened everything up so much. It changed how Nick Nurse is going to call this series. I'm telling you. They got to worry about being in foul trouble. They got to worry about injuries. They got to worry about guarding Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. See, Tyrese Maxey is a shot maker. He's a shot creator. Tyrese Maxey showed them the whole clip yesterday on Saturday. He showed them the whole repertoire. He gave them the whole toolkit. He hit them with the Allen wrench, hit them with the monkey wrench, hit them with the ratchet, hit them with the buzzsaw. He hit them with the whole tool shed. You saw him scoring on all 3 levels. You saw him creating from the 3-point line. You saw him getting to the cup, getting and ones. You saw him scoring in the mid range. He's a bucket. Tyrese Maxey is a bucket. He like that for real. He's a bucket. So when you have somebody that can just get a shot like that, like I'm not saying he's Kyrie Irving. His handle is nowhere near Kyrie Irving. But Kyrie Irving is a bucket getter. When you have someone that can just get a bucket, that's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be honest with you. If the game on the line and I need a bucket, I'm giving it to Tyrese. I'm giving it to him. Because I don't know what it is. When Tyrese Maxey shoots the ball, my mind already says it's going in. He's built up that kind of equity with me. Y'all tell me different. Tyrese Maxey has built up that kind of equity with me. Because he's a bucket getter. And then Tobias Harris, he needed this game. Now, who knows what Tobias Harris may do tonight? If Tobias Harris puts up another 20 ball, I'll take it. Tobias, here's the beautiful thing about Tobias Harris, right? He doesn't have to be the best player in the series. He just can't be the worst. You dig what I'm saying? He doesn't have to be the best player in the starting lineup. He can't be the worst. He can't just put up 10 points. No. Tobias Harris has to average 18 plus points for the Sixers to be at their best. Tyrese Maxey has to average 18, 20 plus points for the Sixers to be at their best. You dig what I'm saying? Like Joel Embiid. See, the thing is, Joel Embiid is going to do him no matter what. James Harden is going to create for everybody no matter what. They're going to get to the cup. But when you gotta factor in all these other guys, all these other moving parts, it gets spooky. And Boogie says, yeah, he's a bucket getter. And Boogie also says Kyrie's elusiveness with the ball is otherworldly. Bro, it's not even funny. I'm watching Kyrie Irving dribble the ball, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It was throwing me for a loop. But, you guys, make sure y'all hit that like button. I really appreciate y'all for being a part of the show. Excuse me. Really appreciate y'all for being a part of the show. Because the show is nothing without y'all. We got 10 plus people in the live stream. Smash that like button. If you're new to the content, make sure you subscribe. Listen, the NBA playoffs is in full effect. Benjamin Allen says, so who do you think Nick Nurse is going to put on Maxey? Very good question. And that's the whole crux of their problem. Who are they going to put on Maxey? Because look, they had Scotty Barnes guarding Harden most of the night, right? Most of the night. They had Scotty Barnes guarding most of the night. And Scotty Barnes not playing. You gonna put OG Anunoby? He can't guard Tyrese. His feet too slow. You gonna put Pascal Siakam got to guard Tobias Harris or Joel Embiid. You know what I'm saying? Who gonna guard? Thaddeus Young is injured as well. Who are they gonna guard? Listen. You know what the problem is? You know what the biggest problem for Toronto is going to be Tyrese Maxey. It's going to be Tyrese Maxey. It's going to be. You want to know why? Because the only two guards on their team that get tick is Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. Other than that, the closest guard that gets minutes is Flynn. Like their guards, their other guards don't get no minutes. Their only two guards, they only have two guards that get minutes for real, and they start. And that's Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet. Neither of them can guard Tyrese. And then the other guys got bigger jobs guarding like Tobias Harris and James Harden and Joel Embiid. They can't focus on Maxey. They can't. If they try, then they're gonna have to switch. As much as Toronto has the athletic advantage, they don't have the skill advantage. They don't have bucket getters. They don't have guys that can just get a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Fred VanVleet, he's going to live at the three-point line. You know what I'm saying? He's going to try to get to the rim every now and again, but he's going to live at the three-point line for the most part. Gary Trent Jr., same thing. He's going to live. He's going to live at the three-point line. You know what they're going to do. Pascal Siakam is going to try. They need to run in transition. They need it. They need transition buckets. If they don't get transition buckets, they're not the same team. Benjamin Allen, they can't focus on them. Like, you're right. You're so right. They can't. You're right. Cal Bundy says, I don't like to look into the future, but imagine when Maxey's 25. Right? Maxey only 21, 22 years old. He says, I bet he said I bet he's gonna get better than Ja. Ja has shot already 2 times better. Oh, bet he's gonna be better. Bet he's gonna be better than Ja 2 times. Well, I get what you're trying to say. Maxey is going to take his game to another level when he gets 25. His shot is going to be way better. He's already shooting above 40% from the three-point line. He's top 5 in shooting efficiency from the three. He's shooting 43% from the three-point line. I think that's top 2, top 3 in the NBA. Come on. Like I said, what are they going to do? Blue City Empire, what's going on, my man? He says Raptors fans are praying for Embiid to get hurt. That tells you that Raptors fans are so salty. Absolutely. That's their best bet. That's their best bet. But here's the thing. Joel Embiid doesn't even have to average 30 for the Sixers to win this series. He doesn't even have to. He doesn't have to. Like, the fact that Tyrese Maxey did what he did in game 1 completely exposed Toronto. Fred VanVleet can't guard him. Gary Trent Jr. can't guard him. They're not fast enough. They're not agile enough. But guess what? Tyrese Maxey can guard them. Tyrese Maxey's feet are quick enough to guard them. I'm not saying Tyrese Maxey is a top-tier defender, but Tyrese Maxey is a willing defender. Hey, Blue City, dial it back. I don't know if he the new Iverson, but we ain't had a guard that can do. We ain't had a guard that can put the ball in the hoop like this since Iverson. I'll give you that. Matter of fact, let's think about that. Is Tyrese Maxey the best guard we've had since Iverson? Think about it. I'm going to ask you guys this question. I'm not sure yet, but is Tyrese Maxey the best bucket since Allen Iverson on his team? The best guard, the best bucket, like out of all the guards that have played for the Philadelphia 76ers, is Tyrese Maxey the best bucket getter since Allen Iverson for the Sixers? Jersey Boy with the $5 super chat, my man. He says with Maxey and Harris balling out with Embiid and Harden, they in a no-win situation right now. Mismatches all day. Sixers winning in 5 games. Hey, I like the way you talking, man. I want to be humble about it and say 6 games because I know Nick Nurse is very good at making adjustments, and Doc Rivers is still Doc Rivers. But you bring up a very good point, Jersey Boy. You bring up a very good point. With Maxey and Tobias Harris doing what they did in game one, that completely shifts the way Toronto has to play defense on us. That completely shifts the way they have to play. Because they didn't account for Tobias Harris being effective like that. They didn't account for Tyrese Maxey being effective like they didn't. They didn't. So now they have to key in on those guys, which means that they're going to have to divide their attention. Like I said, Toronto was a well-coached team. Toronto was a very athletic team. They're not the smartest team, though. They have a smart head coach, and it translates, but they're on court in real time. Their half-court offense is basic. They struggle to get buckets in the half-court. But if you allow them to run a transition, they're going to get buckets all day. Pascal Siakam. Now look, Pascal Siakam is a hard guard. He's a hard matchup. I'll give you that. He is. He's hard to guard in the paint because he's so strong. Has so much length. He played 40 minutes. Pascal Siakam was going to have to play 40-plus minutes to win this series. He shot 50% from the field, made all his free throws, had 7 assists, 24 points. Pascal Siakam played a pretty efficient game, but it wasn't enough. In order for them to win this series, Pascal Siakam has to average 30. 30. And then you got Scotty Barnes hurt. They're not going to be the same team. They're not going to be the same defensively. They're just not. Cal Bundy, he says now Michael Carter Williams was. Stop it. Michael Carter Williams was not the buck. Michael Carter Williams is not better than Tyrese Maxey now. He wasn't better than Tyrese when he came into the league. Benjamin Allen says all one-on-one matchups now. They wish. They praying for one of our guys to get hurt. God forbid. They praying. And look, I feel bad for Scotty Barnes getting hurt. I didn't want Scotty Barnes to get hurt. I want everybody to be at full strength. I want to be able to knock guys out. I want to be able to knock guys out. I don't care who on the court. I feel bad for the way he got put out. And he says he's already feeling better. He's not playing game 2. Gary Trent Jr. is doubtful for the night. But listen, it's the way the cookie crumbles, player. If you can't suit up, you can't suit up. It is what it is. Blue City says, remember when we drafted Tyrese Maxey and us Sixers fans were all confused about that pick? Not me. Not me. Who was confused, Blue City? Not I, Popeye. Who was confused? We got 13 people in the live stream. Smash that like button, y'all. We're going up today. The Sixers play tonight. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. We're going up. Let's go. Cal Bundy, I'm with you. I wasn't confused. I wasn't confused. But Jaden Springer, I was confused about that one. That's the one that made me go, I don't know. I wasn't confused about Tyrese Maxey at all. When they drafted Tyrese Maxey, I knew what we was getting. On top of that, my brother watched college ball. And Boogie, he watched college ball. He said, yo, Tyrese Maxey, I was watching him in high school. He'd get buckets. I watched Tyrese Maxey in the tournament. You know, I watched him briefly in college. I knew what he was getting. He's a bucket getter. Has a dream floater. Almost unguardable. And he's already improving to this extent in the NBA. Tyrese Maxey can only get better. And he stays healthy. He doesn't miss games. You know, let's keep that health. Let's keep him healthy. You know what I'm saying? You know, let's keep him healthy. But I wasn't confused about Tyrese Maxey. When we drafted Tyrese, I knew exactly what we was getting. You know, I feel like Paul Reed, he was picked up in the same draft, Isaiah Joe. They need to get more minutes. But trust and believe, once we get to Toronto, Isaiah Joe is going to be playing more minutes. Best believe that. Because Matisse Thybulle won't be available. Best believe that. Paul Reed is going to be getting more minutes because Matisse Thybulle won't be available. See, I like what Paul Reed brings to the table from an athletic perspective. He allows the Philadelphia 76ers to run. Same thing with Tyrese. They both of those players allow the Philadelphia 76ers to get out in transition. And, you know, I was really surprised to see James Harden getting out in transition. I was surprised to see Joel Embiid pushing the ball up in transition. I was surprised. You know, like I know Joel can push the rock, but seeing us get out in transition consistently really, really showed me a lot about this team. And it's only game 1, you guys. So let's hold our horses. A lot can change. One game doesn't define a series, but one game can expose some things about the other team. One game can change how you approach the series, but it doesn't change. It doesn't change the outcome of a series. One game, but it can change how you play it. And with Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris doing their thing, it completely changed the dynamic of the series. It changed it. It changed it, you guys. We got 11 people in this live stream. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We're giving you guys Chalk It Up Sports daily, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm also giving you guys your daily doses of videos, throughout the day. You know what I'm saying? Live streams, the Birds of a Feather podcast, the Bird Brains podcast. We're giving you guys all of that. So appreciate y'all. Shout out to Bird Gang 31. Shout out to Philly Foothills from the Nest Out West. Shout out to my man One Trey Rock. Shout out to the BGN Sports Network. Shout out to Jacob Media. We all getting busy. We all getting busy. And I'm just so amped. I'm so excited for the NBA playoffs because now we're seeing meaningful basketball. We're seeing actual coaching have to come up. We're seeing bucket getters. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing guys that get buckets. You dig what I'm saying? Like watching Anthony Edwards play in that Memphis Minnesota series. Watching Anthony Edwards ball out was beautiful, man. Anthony Edwards was one of the brightest stars out right now, And I think, if I'm not mistaken, him and Tyrese Maxey was in that same draft, right? Anthony Edwards and Melo Ball, Tyrese Maxey. That draft class, top notch. That draft class is top notch, man, for sure. Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly. Who else? I think was Tyler Mann in that draft, if I'm not mistaken. Who else? Sadiq Bey. LaMelo Ball, if I didn't say his name already. Like that draft got Tyrese Halliburton. Like that draft got some ballers in it. Ballers. Blue City says Raptors fans are comparing this playoff game to 2019 playoff. Yeah, okay. Blue City says, I'm calling it Tyrese Maxey buzzer beater for the win on the Raptors like Kawhi did to us. Man, that thing still grounds my damn gears to the fullest. I think about that game often. I think about it often. But this is a different Sixers team. We're different. We have guys that are capable of getting buckets now. That's the difference. If we can average 25 plus bench points, 25 to 30 bench points, I'm cool with the way the series is going to go. Because off the bench, we had how many? We had 10. We had 10 from Milton, 8 from Niang, so that's 18. 18 plus Paul Reed's 3, that's 21. 21 plus Matisse Thybulle's 3 is 24. So 24 bench points. Okay, not bad. I would like it to be more, but it's okay. I would love for us to get a bit, get more bench points, But if you think about it, they took advantage of other opportunities. Niang went 3 for 4, 2 for 3 for the 3-point line. Paul Reed went 1 for 2. You know what I'm saying? 1 for 2 at the free throw line as well. Had a steal and a block. Matisse Thybulle made his only 3-point attempt. You know what I'm saying? Had a steal, and Shake Milton went 3 for 4 from the field. Made his only 3-point attempt, made all his free throws, 10 points. So the bench wasn't a liability, So that's what I'm saying, man. Like, you got some guys that can get buckets. Like Shake Milton, he can get a bucket too. He plays a little slow, but he can get a bucket too. Best believe that. Blue City says Tyrese Maxey was wearing the Iverson throwback jersey during the playoff game. Yo, bro, when I saw him come in with that, I knew what time it was. I knew what time it was when I saw him come with that jersey. He knew what time it was too. He channeled that energy. He channeled one of the GOATs. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm super excited for these Philadelphia 76ers. I'm super excited for the playoffs. Who all plays tonight? Let me double check who all plays tonight. Because, like I said, the playoffs are in full effect. All right, so tonight we got 3 games. We got obviously the Sixers and the Raptors. We got the Jazz and the Mavericks. The Mavericks looking to bounce back in that game 1 loss. And then we got the Nuggets and the Warriors. Okay. So this is gonna be a good night. A very good night. Do the Nuggets bounce back? I don't know. Man. Like it seems like they can't, or they don't know how to if the ball doesn't run through Jokic, their offense is very flat, very stagnant, very predictable. They don't have too many people that they want to run through. All their actions run through Jokic. Whereas with the Sixers, they have actions that run through multiple people. Hey, what's going on, DeShields Green? Welcome to the show, my man. Make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to my content, make sure you subscribe. We were just going crazy talking about these Sixers, man. Like Tyrese Maxey going crazy. Tobias Harris did this thing. And let's be honest, DeShields, the fact that Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris did what they did in game one completely shifts how Toronto has to approach defending these guys. Because remember, if you pay attention, they entered this series thinking they got to pay attention to Joel Embiid and James Harden. They're triple teaming the pick and roll. But when you do that, now you got guys like Danny Green on the perimeter, Tobias Harris on the perimeter, Tyrese Maxey on the perimeter, and you only got two guys to defend them, and you got to rotate. So how is it going to work? Tyrese Maxey putting up 38 points, Tobias Harris dropping 26, completely changes how Toronto has to approach playing defense in this series. And you may be onto something. If we win tonight, we may sweep them. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, DeShields, but let's be honest about this. Matisse Thybulle won't be available in Toronto. Now, granted, Matisse Thybulle didn't play that many minutes this past game, but Matisse Thybulle is vital. He plays very good perimeter defense. But obviously, the only people you got to worry about on the perimeter is Van Vliet and Gary Trent on a regular basis. Everybody else likes to get inside. They can stretch the floor a little bit, but consistent three-point shooters, you got to pay attention to Van Vliet and Gary Trent. And that's where Matisse Thybulle comes in. But Tyrese Maxey is a willing defender. Let's not get it twisted. Very willing. But, man, Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris, they were the stars of the night, man. I love James Harden's 14 assists. Yo, that dime from James Harden to Tyrese Maxey was off the easy. That was off the chain, bro. Like, I'm watching. Like, when they got that board and they pushed that, who got the board? Paul Reed, and Paul Reed kicked it to James Harden, and James Harden did that crazy bounce pass. Like, I don't know what he did, but he put some kind of top spin or put some kind of rotation in that ball. That ball went right to Tyrese, and Maxey just did his thing. Maxey was filleting. He was just cooking. He was Mr. Hibachi. And I expect Tyrese Maxey to put up 20-plus points tonight. I don't expect him to give you 38 every night, but Tyrese Maxey has to continue to be a threat. He has to continue to stay aggressive. And that's when his team is at its best. When everyone is aggressive, when everyone plays to their strength and understands that they can get a bucket, like Tobias Harris. Like Tobias Harris can get a bucket. Use your body. Throw your weight around. They're not stronger than you. Throw your weight around and get to the cup. You know what I'm saying? Make those spot up threes. It's going to be so important for these Sixers to really get into their rhythm. So important. And they've already gotten to it thus far. And guess what? Joel Embiid had an off game. We beat him by a dub. Joel Embiid had an off game. James Harden had an off game. And we beat him by a dub. Think about that. The sky is the limit. And it's only game one. Only game one. I know I'm excited, but I can't help it. I'm a Sixers fan through and through. And I carry it. No matter where I go, I carry it. Cal Bundy says, hey, Tone, somebody said Maxey was John Wall with the better shot. And I was like, that's interesting because like, I think John Wall is a better passer. I think John Wall is a better passer than Maxey. They both went to Kentucky, yeah. But that's an interesting comparison. But I think John Wall is a better passer. Maxey is obviously a better shooter. I think John Wall is a better defender. But if I had to compare Tyrese Maxey to anybody, if I had to compare his game to anybody, man, Maxey kind of reminds me of a young Baron Davis, or, Maxey kind of reminds me of, he kind of reminds me of like a combination of, like, I don't know. He played like Rondo a little bit. He played like, it's very interesting. I don't know. That's good, man. I got to think about that. Who would I compare Maxey's game to? Trush says Ja minus the dunks. Interesting. I think Maxey's a better shooter, but I like that, Trush. I like that. Cal Bundy says a better Colin Sexton. Okay. Colin Sexton can't stay healthy, but I get what y'all saying for sure. But you guys, the show is coming to a bitter end. I appreciate y'all so much for going crazy in the live chat. We had 13, 15. We had like 18. We had almost 20 people in the live chat. Tomorrow, let's try to get 25, 30 people in here, you guys. I'm putting my faith in y'all. I'm putting my trust in y'all to be a part of Chalk It Up Sports Daily, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm giving you guys that hot fire. I'm giving you guys passion. I'm giving you guys intensity. I'm giving you guys moxie in my analysis. I'm giving you guys pure energy. And that's how I carry it, you guys. And I really appreciate all the love and support. Like I always say, I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got charges to the game. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe for more from your boy. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry. And we out of here.